every year is my year.
Conor McGregor, you're taking everything I work for.
Unbelievable, the first punch he threw.
Nate Diaz has never looked better.
I'm not here just to take part, we're here to take over.
It is over in Vegas. It was not for the squeamish, whether you are a fight fan or not. It was a battle of two stunningly courageous fighters, both absolute warriors, but it's Conor McGregor with the majority decision victory over Nate Diaz. We're joined by the #2 contender in the featherweight division, Frankie Edgar. First and foremost, your thoughts. Did the judges get this decision right?
Yeah, I think they did. It was close. I had it 3-2. You know, Conor did what he had to do. Came out and was very relaxed. Threw kicks. I think he threw 20 leg kicks, in that first round. Then you seen the tide start to change. Nate started to bring it on. But in the second, at the end of the second, especially the third round, coming into the fourth, it seemed like Conor got a second win, was able to steal that one. I thought Nate won the fifth and final, but 3-2.
That just goes to show you how differently people can see it. I thought McGregor won that final round. I want to talk about, we'll go big picture here, and we're going to recap the entire fight. We'll head out to Vegas here in just a bit, and we've got the post-fight news conferences coming your way as well. The game plan for McGregor in this fight versus what it was in the first fight. What was the difference? In
the first fight, he came out guns blazing, threw everything into every single punch. This time he was a little more calculated, was able to, create a distance with some leg kicks. And it seemed like Nate was waiting a little bit, and I think that cost him. You see, when he stopped waiting and started going, that's when he kind of got the ball rolling. But then he started to wait again, and Conor was able to land leg kicks, land some shots. So I think Conor was smart by, picking his spots when he really wanted to attack.
Did Diaz fight a smart fight himself?
I think Diaz fought his style, just going forward. But I was just disappointed in him waiting as much as he did. Usually he doesn't wait as much. Usually he throws, multiple punch combinations. And when he did that, he was successful in this fight.
Was that a matter of fatigue? I mean, listen, this fight goes the distance. We're talking about 25 minutes of fight action with two guys who threw and landed haymakers. I mean, we're seeing pictures of what it looked like early on in the fight because those two guys and their faces did not look like that at the end of the fight. Was endurance an issue for either fighter in this one?
Yeah, I think both of them, actually. In the end of the second round, you've seen Conor fade and Nate really pick it up. And he kind of, he ended the second and third. He really threw everything into his punches. Then the fourth kind of lost some steam. And that's when Conor got his second win. So I think they were both fighting fatigue throughout this fight.
As a fighter, I mean, let's strip down the mechanics of what we saw. As a fighter, watching what was a back alley brawl. I mean, what were your thoughts on just watching what was an awesome fight? Yeah,
these guys really put it out there. You could tell there was a lot of animosity between these guys leading up to this fight, and they fought with everything on the line. They fought with a lot of heart. I mean, both bloodied up. Gave it the raw, emptied the tank. You got to give it up to those guys.
But respect as well, right? I mean, listen, there is an element of the sport where you need to sell a fight, especially if you're the headliner, and they certainly have done that throughout their news conferences over time. But there was a mutual respect at the end of the fight, too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're martial artists, and for the most part, most guys are you dap it up and say, hey, great fight.
Talk to me about what it's like. We've talked about the fatigue factor in that fifth and final round. When in reality, if we're going by what the judges' scorecards were, the fight was still up for grabs. What's it like 22 minutes deep into a fight like that when you've still got a little bit of gas left in the tank?
Yeah, you got to dig deep, and that's when you just think about all the training you did, leading up to that fight and hoping it was enough. And for these guys, they were kind of battling head to head, and one guy pulled through, and it's sometimes just a game of inches in the fight world.
They've been fighting these two fights at Diaz's weight. In the post-fight news conference, I'm being told that McGregor said, let's do it again. Let's have a third fight, but at 155. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, hey, who wouldn't want to see it? These guys bring out great performances each time. At 55, they both be at their natural weights because Nate's really a 55-pounder as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure the fight fans would be into that fight.
How much was weight an issue in this fight, right? Because a lot of us felt that, look, McGregor landed the far better punches in the first fight, but he was worn down by Diaz as that fight went on. How much did you see weight an issue in this fight tonight?
I think Diaz is just the bigger frame, the bigger body, but I'm sure they were in 5 pounds with each other. They were just really, big guys that cut a lot of weight. 55, and Conor obviously goes down to 45, so he cuts a substantial amount. But, tonight they just didn't cut weight. They were at at their normal weight, probably within 5 pounds of each other. Nate's just a bigger frame. He's just tough to carry.
Frankie, we talked with Chael Sonnen following that first fight, and he heaped praise on Conor McGregor for saying, you know what, this is a guy that went way up to take this fight. He showed the guts to do that, to step out of his weight division, and despite the fact that he lost, you've got to give him an enormous amount of credit for doing that. Now he steps out of his weight class and wins a fight here. So what does that do for the Conor McGregor mystique and legacy?
Yeah, he's just building his name up, you know, from the first day he walked into the UFC, and he continues to do so, and he's bringing the sport with him. So hats off to Conor. He puts in good performances one after the next.
If you missed it in Vegas tonight, it was a spectacular fight to the finish, 25 minutes of fierce combat, and yet in the end, it's Conor McGregor who comes away with a majority decision win. We're going to head out to Vegas, check in with Gilbert Melendez. We've got post-fight news conferences on the way. Do not go anywhere. Lisa, it is over in Vegas. The main event of UFC 202 lived up to everything and then some. The rematch between Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz, first round. McGregor lands a hard leg kick and then drops Diaz with the thunderbolt of a left hand. Second round, he does it again, another big time left. But later in the second, Diaz imposing his will, storming back, fighting off the Irishman. Final minute of the third round, Diaz gets McGregor against the cage, landing big combinations. Fifth and final round, McGregor landing a nice combination, and then closing seconds, it goes the distance. After the final bell, it's a majority decision victory for the notorious one, Conor McGregor, who avenges the loss at UFC 196. And we are headed out to Vegas now, joined by Gilbert El Nino Melendez, who joins us live here on SportsCenter. Gilbert was in the corner of Nate Diaz of this fight, but also obviously an analyst for us, so I will ask you this question with that as an introduction here, Gilbert. Did the judges get it right?
You know, it was a very close fight. It was a beautiful fight. Both guys showed heart, warriors. In my opinion, I believe Nathan won the last 3 rounds, which are the most important. It was very close. It was a matter of 1 round in this fight, 47-48. 2 judges, 1 judge called it 47-47. Nate's notorious as a slow starter, and he comes on stronger at the end. But it's a very close fight. Could have went either way, in my opinion, but I did have Nate win in the last 3.
Certainly, it seemed like McGregor won at the very least the first round, likely the second one as well. So, Gilbert, what did Conor McGregor do well enough in the judges' eyes to win this fight?
You know, Conor McGregor fought a very tactical fight. He didn't push the pace too much. He picked his shots perfectly, and he capitalized and landed some really good ones on Nate. And from there, he kind of ran with it and was able to knock him down a few more times. And that's what kind of gave him that big lead, I believe, on 1 judge's scorecards. And he also landed the leg kicks as well. And he paced himself really well to last the fight, because I believe he did lose momentum in the fight, but he left enough in the tank to survive and to win the scorecards. And it was a great fight on both guys. It
certainly didn't look like he would have enough left. By the end of the third round, he looked gassed, but he found enough in the fourth round, it looked like, to come back in this fight. We will talk about just the second career win by decision for Conor McGregor in just a moment. But this was McGregor. Gilbert, I want you to listen to this following the fight, talking about the possibility of a third showdown with Nate Diaz.
This time at 155 pounds, I came up to 170, faced the bigger man, overcame my adversity. Now you want this trilogy? It's on my terms. Come back down to 155, we'll do it.
I gave him number 2 the second day, so I'm ready to go again.
All right, so Nate Diaz saying he's willing, in no uncertain words, to do it for a third time. Gilbert, of course, you've been in camp with Nate Diaz. You were in his corner tonight. McGregor says he wants the third fight to be at 155. Is Diaz willing to go to 155?
Absolutely. You know, everyone's been talking about McGregor fighting the bigger 170 pounder, but Nate Diaz is a 155 pounder. He is a lightweight. He's number 4 in the world as a lightweight, so he's going to go back to that weight class. And whoever wins that fight will most likely get a title fight. So, yes, I think this is a great thing. This is actually a great thing for both of them. Even though Nate lost this fight, he's a winner. Why? Because he gets a third fight with Conor McGregor. 2 of the biggest stars in UFC, if not the 2 biggest stars, are going to do it again 3 times. I'm excited for that. Who doesn't want that?
You know, after the fight, there was a cool moment we saw in the ring. Gilbert, you and Nate put your heads together. You said something to Nate at that point. What can you share with us what you told him?
You know, we just talked. I told him he's a warrior. I told him that was a beautiful performance. You know, for us fight fans that really understand the sport, it was like watching a ballet or a symphony if you really know the tactics that is going on there. These guys are in so much chaos and maintaining composure. And I just told him he's a warrior. I feel like he won that fight, and that was a great show, and he's the man for that. So, you know, that's my brother out there. I was proud of that performance. There's no shame in that at all.
Listen, for you, you said a mouthful right there, Gilbert Melendez. No shame in what either one of those men did tonight. That's Gilbert Melendez joining us from Vegas tonight on the night that Conor McGregor avenges his loss in UFC 196 to come out with a win here in UFC 202 tonight. And we are joined again by our pal Frankie Edgar here. You heard Gilbert mention that Nate would be willing to fight at 155. So they fought, if they fight at 155, if in fact that does happen, the advantage there goes to, I mean, I would think McGregor, right? Well,
I think you would think that just because he's the smaller guy. But like Gil said, Nate's really a 55-pounder. That's where he's had most success. He's ranked number 4 there. So I still think it's kind of a toss-up. I think it's, you know, they're going to both have to cut weight. They're both going to have to struggle a little bit. I guess it's going to see who can make the best adjustments for the next one.
As we sort of take a deep breath here after diving right into what was an unbelievable fight, I want to go back to just the overarching theme of this fight, which was two men who, if we believe what we saw in the pre-fight news conferences, who don't like each other very much, giving us 25 minutes of fury. How, as one of the best in the game yourself, how would you describe the heart that we saw from both of these guys tonight?
It was amazing to see. You know, a lot of big fights that come up usually never live up to hype, and this absolutely lived up to hype. These guys are both bloody. They left it all in the cage. You know, we all got to tip our hat to both of them. You know, win or lose, I don't think there's any losers in that one. They're going to probably run it back for a very lucrative third fight, and the fans are going to win again.
The biggest reason that Conor McGregor won this fight tonight was what?
I think he just had the better game plan. He came out smart. He was able to weather the storm in the middle and have enough in the tank to finish it off.
How difficult is it for a knockout puncher like Conor McGregor? I mean, he's got 2 majority decisions in his career, including tonight. So how difficult is it to adopt that sort of a game plan in a fight of this magnitude?
It's tough, you know, and you could see Conor tagged him early in the first and second. And you could see he was really trying to put him away, and usually in the past he would let it all out to put him away, and and if it didn't work out for him like it did last fight, he gassed out and didn't have enough. In this fight, he just kept just enough in the tank so he didn't blow, you know, totally let everything out and have not enough to finish the fight. This time he was much more smarter in that aspect.
We gave so much credit to both guys after the first fight. I think we gave a lot of credit to McGregor for coming up in weight and performing and being willing to take that risk. How about the credit to Nate Diaz for taking some of the punches he took in this fight tonight?
Yeah, Nate's a warrior. Not surprised by his performance one bit. You know, he's been in this game for a long time, and turns out good performance after the next. And he left it all in there. He was a bloody mess, and he was ready to go. You know, he really turned it up, and he faced a lot of adversity. So I'm sure he's looking forward to a third fight.
By the way, what's been left out of the discussion here because of the magnitude of this fight and those 2 fighters was the knockout punch that Anthony Johnson threw in the undercard. I'll
tell you, that guy's amazing. He might be able to knock out King Kong. That guy has such power in his hands, and yeah, that's going to be a good rematch for him in D.C.
Well, Frankie Edgar, great to have you here breaking it down for us on a night that Conor McGregor again goes up in weight to fight Nate Diaz, wins a majority decision victory in Vegas. We will be heading out to Vegas much more throughout the night here on SportsCenter.